What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel. And I am here today to talk the top 4 landing spots for these NFL rookies on day 1 and day 2. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you today by Underdog Fantasy. And if you don't know Underdog, they have all sorts of contests available to you guys. They have live drafts, best ball drafts, pick'em contests. You can make up to 10 extra entry fee. Use the promo code Awesemo today, and you are going to get a match deposit bonus up to $100. Diving into the best rookie landing spots from day 1, day 2, there's a lot to get to, but I think first and foremost, we have to start near the top of the draft. And of course, we're exclusively talking skill position players here. When we look at where some of these guys land, it's really hard not to just start off with the first rookie receiver off the board in Drake London. Now, for redraft, for Dynasty, it's kind of a blend of both worlds. Drake London lands in an Atlanta Falcons offense, which is missing an absolute ton of targets here. They're missing 229 targets. That's 41.3% of the targets they're missing from last year. That would be the 6th highest in the league. So there is available opportunity right away for Drake London. When we look at him as a prospect, he's a big receiver, athletic receiver, 6'4", 219. No testing numbers for him, but he's not even 20 years old yet. We know the situation in Atlanta is not great, but first and foremost, they're a team that's not expected to win a lot of games. That means even if they want to run, they might not be able to just because of game script. Then we look at what the Atlanta Falcons are trotting out on offense in terms of target competition. You have Kyle Pitts, and he is notable. He's a player with the tight end position tag, but he actually plays more or less in the slot or out wide. However, with Drake London, his skill set actually fits what Marcus Mariota or whoever they end up trotting out onto the field at quarterback. That skill set with him makes a lot of sense. First of all, he's a player that can win in contested situations, but in college, he also won a lot underneath. Similar to like a Devontae Adams, it's a player that was used a ton in the screen game and forced missed tackles after the catch. So Drake London makes a lot of sense here. When we dig into the production, he checks every single box from a production perspective here. Over 1,000 yards in just 8 games, 37% target share. So we love Drake London. That's the number 1 landing spot for me, not just in Dynasty, but in redraft as well. Love Drake London moving forward. Number 2, we have Treylon Burks. Now, there's a couple nuances to this situation. This was basically the A.J. Brown trade. They give A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles for the right to draft Treylon Burks. They're actually very similar in terms of what they bring to the field. Both pretty big and athletic receivers. Burks is 6'2", 225. The 4.55 40-yard dash isn't as fast as some people thought. But if you look at GPS testing data, this is a guy that was above 20 miles per hour multiple times. He's still very young coming out of Arkansas. But A.J. Brown leaves. And that's huge for this offense. The Titans have the 2nd most vacated targets in the NFL, behind only the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are missing 360. The Titans are missing 351. The 3rd team on this list is the Ravens at 255. So it's nearly 100 more targets than the 3rd team on this list. It's 67% of their targets, which is the largest share in the NFL. It's just that the Titans don't throw the ball as much as the Chiefs. And that's something I want to hone in on here. A lot of people might be scared of Treylon Burks in this first tier of rookies because the Titans don't throw a lot. We know they are a Derrick Henry-centric offense. With that said, there's just so many available targets here, and Treylon Burks being the heir apparent, it's really hard not to rank him decently for fantasy in year 1. And for me, putting him just behind Drake London in the rankings. So Treylon Burks is going to be number 2 here. Fantastic landing spot, even with the run-heavy Titans. Number 3, this is where I think you could start seeing the argument between Dynasty and redraft leagues. And it's going to be Skyy Moore, coming out of Western Michigan, going to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is more dependent on landing spot than really any other player so far. Skyy Moore comes off the board in the 2nd round, late 2nd round. He was picked in the 50s. But a lot of people mock this guy towards the back half of the 1st round. It has a lot to do with the size profile here. He's 5'11", 195, built a lot like Golden Tate, so he's a thicker receiver. Ran a 4.41 40-yard dash, 35-inch vertical. He's not even 22 years old yet. So Skyy Moore, just for reference, he's bigger and he's more athletic than Jahan Dotson, who was picked ahead of him in the 1st round by the Washington Commanders. When you look at production for Skyy Moore, it's also there. over 1,000 yards this past year. He had nearly 2,500 yards in his career with Western Michigan, but that 2020 season limited by COVID. Tough to evaluate there. But overall, he goes into the situation which has the most vacated targets in the NFL. The reason I have Burks higher than a guy like Skyy Moore is the Chiefs have tried to adjust to the wide receiver position without Tyreek Hill. They bring in Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They bring in Juju Smith-Schuster. What I'll say about that is those are players that haven't produced. Juju Smith-Schuster had the fantastic rookie year, but it has been steadily downward for him since. And Marquez Valdes-Scantling has had opportunities to produce with Aaron Rodgers. Patrick Mahomes is on the same caliber as Aaron Rodgers in terms of talent. So if he couldn't do it with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, what makes us think it's going to be any different in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes? That's for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So me personally, I would like to take a stab on a guy like Skyy Moore who checks every box. Athleticism, production, it's all there. The only thing you can knock him for is the level of competition coming out of Western Michigan. So love Skyy Moore here. It's the third best landing spot for me and a place where he can produce immediately. Looking at the last player on our list, this was the least exciting for me, and it's going to be really landing spot dependent. It's Christian Watson going to Green Bay out of North Dakota State, pick 34, I believe, in the second round, just egregiously high for a player of this caliber. But speaking to the prospect first, it's all athleticism. He's 6'4", 208, ran the 4.36 and 39-inch vertical. The athleticism's rare. Unfortunately, he's an old prospect. He's 23, spent a long time at North Dakota State. This team is really run heavy, so the production's not there either. Don't have full target share details coming from the FCS, but 801 yards as a 22-year-old in the FCS is pretty rough, and that athleticism didn't always translate onto the field. Pretty rough. So the Green Bay drafted a project really high. Not something I love, but when we look at available targets, and we're talking about landing spots here, I mean, Green Bay, they're missing 248 targets. That's over 43%. It's number 4 in the NFL behind the Chiefs, the Titans, and the Ravens. I mean, ahead of Christian Watson, we're talking Sammy Watkins, Allen Lazard, Amari Rodgers, Randall Cobb. Similar to what we just talked about with Skyy Moore, the receivers ahead of Christian Watson have all had chances to produce in their careers, and none of them have. So if I'm making a bet on a player in Green Bay's offense, it's probably Christian Watson, even with the poor prospect profile he has outside of that rare athleticism. So it's a great landing spot. I don't love the fit with the receiver, but I mean, really hard to pass up a rookie receiver with that athleticism playing with Aaron Rodgers. Let me know what you think the best landing spots for these rookies on day 1 and day 2 were in the 2022 NFL Draft. My name is Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.